Is this the end of the BTS era as we know it? Is Jungkook's sudden decision backstage at J-Hope's concert really going to change the course of K-pop history forever? And even more shocking, why was Jimin's reaction so emotional that his face changed drastically in seconds? In the midst of the roaring cheers from ARMY filling the stadium that night, there was one conversation that shook the entire internal structure of BTS and HYB. What was supposed to be a celebration of J-Hope's successful solo concert turned into an unexpected turning point, in an atmosphere full of laughter, hugs, and nostalgia backstage. Jungkook stood with an unusual expression, with a firm tone and eyes staring straight ahead. He said one sentence that made all heads turn. "We can't go on like this. I think it's time to take a different path," he said. That sentence cut deep, piercing the silence previously filled with joy. Jimin, who was standing right next to him, immediately turned with a shocked expression. "What do you mean, Jungkook? Are you serious?" he asked, half in disbelief. His reaction was swift, indicating that Jungkook's words were not just a spontaneous opinion, but something much bigger. Suga and V, who had been quietly laughing, instantly fell silent. Their eyes showed confusion and concern. RM even stepped forward, as if trying to mediate, but no words came out of his mouth at that moment. Internal sources said the atmosphere became so tense that nearby staff chose to step back and give them space. Just minutes after Jungkook's shocking statement, Bang Si Hyuk suddenly entered the room. Without many words, he asked Jungkook to speak in private. His movements were quick yet composed. His expression was cold, his gaze sharp, as if he had been waiting for this moment for a long time. According to a source who witnessed it firsthand, Bang Si Hyuk brought Jungkook to a private room on the upper floor of the concert building. Not long after, all BTS members were gathered for an internal meeting that lasted over 4 hours. This meeting is said to be one of the most emotional moments in BTS's history. Some staff even described the situation as a silent explosion. No yelling, but the emotional pressure was so heavy it filled the air. What was actually discussed in that meeting? Was it truly about a hiatus, solo projects, or even BTS disbanding? Some say Jungkook expressed a desire to explore his musical identity more freely without being bound to group routines, not because he wanted to leave BTS, but because he felt it was time to take a more individual role in his development as an artist, a decision that, according to him, was not selfish, but very important for personal and professional growth. What made the situation even more tense was the fact that Jungkook had kept this unease for months. He had tried several times to express it during management meetings, but never as clearly as that night. "I feel like if we keep going like this, we're losing our essence. I don't want to stop being a part of BTS, but I can't keep doing this without complete honesty," Jungkook told the members, according to one staff member nearby. Bang Si Hyuk's reaction was no less surprising. Instead of being angry, he actually looked relieved, one witness said. Bang Si Hyuk nodded slowly and simply said, "You finally said it. I also feel like this has been delayed for too long." That sentence brought a wave of silence to the room. Even Jimin, who was initially very emotional, began to understand that what happened that night was not betrayal or rebellion, but long-held honesty. RM, as the leader, was reportedly the one who finally raised his voice during the meeting. "If we really want to move forward, we can't lie to ourselves or to ARMY. It's time to speak honestly," he said, his voice trembling to a statement that affirmed that major changes were being planned. Bang Si Hyuk then was said to have made a quick decision. He didn't ask for time to think, didn't hold additional management meetings. That very night, he told the members that HYB was ready to take a big step if they were all willing to do it together. This decision is said to be the most radical decision the CEO has ever made in the company's history. One very striking thing from that night was how emotion and professionalism merged in the most pressured situation. There was no explosive anger, no dramatic crying meant to draw fake sympathy. There was only honesty, anxiety about the future, and courage to take risks. Jungkook didn't just shake the internal BTS, but opened a new chapter in the history of South Korea's music industry. Public reaction remains divided. Most ARMYs express support for whatever decision is made, while others anxiously await HYB's official announcement. But one thing is certain, That night was not just a concert night. IT was a night of change, a night when one honest statement from Jungkook shook the structure that had long seemed solid and unshakable. As this news is written, speculation continues to emerge. Some analysts predict a possible announcement of long-term individual projects from the members, including Jungkook. Meanwhile, HYB is reportedly preparing a massive public communication strategy. This whole process indicates that what's being prepared is not just an ordinary hiatus or solo promotion, but a major restructuring in BTS's future direction and vision. And ultimately, one thing we must understand is big decisions are always born from great courage. Jungkook chose honesty, Jimin was shocked, and Bang Si Hyuk responded with action. Now, the eyes of the world are on the next step. Where is BTS headed after this night full of surprises? Whatever the answer, the world of K-pop has changed and may never be the same again. But how much can we trust every piece of information circulating on social media like TikTok, YouTube, or Twitter? Do these sources have enough credibility to be considered truth? Or are these just fragments of visuals and audio clips compiled in such a way to build a dramatic story? Imagine for a moment, if Jungkook's statement about "can't go on like this" is real, what impact would that have on BTS's future? Is this a sign of division or a turning point for something greater and more mature? But before we answer these questions, let's ask a more fundamental one. Are we truly witnessing reality? Or are we just captivated by a carefully crafted narrative? Many fans have started digging into concert video clips, analyzing members' facial expressions, even interpreting body gestures as hidden signals or codes. But are we searching for the truth? Or are we getting trapped in unfounded conspiracy theories? In this era of information overload, the line between fact and interpretation becomes very blurry. That's why it's important to maintain a critical distance. Do what we consider evidence really support the claims or simply reinforce what we want to believe? Bang Si Hyuk's move to immediately hold an emergency meeting in an unusually serious tone raises deeper questions. Is this a sign that the issue brought up by Jungkook had long been an internal concern? Or is it just a perfect act of a massive promotional agenda? Remember, the entertainment world doesn't just sell music, but also narratives, emotions, and drama. If this is a strategy, then we must admit, it is highly effective. Media coverage spiked, global fan discussions exploded, and BTS returned to the center of global attention. But if this isn't staged, then a heavier question must be asked. Are we ready to face the reality that maybe, just maybe, BTS's future may no longer be what we expect? Some consider Jungkook's move as a form of maturity and bravery, but others see it as a potential beginning of internal division. So, the next question becomes sharper. Does this dynamic reflect the natural journey of a group that has reached its peak? Or is it a picture of how fame's pressure can crack even the strongest bonds? Most of the media spreading this information use emotional narratives, often without concrete evidence. Leaked TikTok videos only show incomplete snippets. Twitter statements tend to be provocative without direct confirmation. And YouTube is full of narrative speculation crafted for views. Does this reflect responsible journalism? Or is it just a new form of digital sensationalism sacrificing truth for clicks? We cannot and will not give a definitive conclusion, because the information we receive also comes from open sources that still need further verification. That's why we invite you, the readers, to think critically. Don't just be passive consumers of circulating news. Ask questions.
Dig deeper.
Cross-check sources. Because in a world where information can be easily manipulated, skepticism is the most important form of defense. What makes us so quick to believe that a concert turned into a historic turning point? Why are we so moved by Jimin's shocked expression or Bang Si Hyuk's calm demeanor? Are we witnessing reality or just watching a performance so convincing that we forget we are being watched back by the entertainment industry? Let's take another look. There has been no official statement clearly declaring major changes in BTS. What exists are only interpretations of fragmented moments and phrases with double meanings. So the question is, do we really know what's going on, or do we only feel like we know because the narrative was shaped for us to believe? It is important that we place ourselves as fair observers, not just consuming information, but questioning the sources and motives behind them, because it may be that behind all these shocking dynamics, there's a planbusinessstrategy.org. Conversely, there is emotional fatigue that finally exploded on the wrong stage.